From Nintendo to Overwatch, LGBTQ characters are embedded in tons of video games. While you're playing your favorite video games, make sure you stay hydrated with your favorite beverages in a rainbow mug from your favorite TV show, available now on the PBR merchandise store. Welcome everyone to Powered by Rainbows. I am of course your host, Professor Pride, and on today's show, we're talking about LGBTQ characters in video games. But first off, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Anyway, on to our show. In October 1958, physicist William Higginbotham created what is thought to be the first video game, which was a simple tennis game. 60 years later, in 2018, a video game blogger named Sam Greer from Games Radar researched thousands of video games throughout all of history to find how many games in history had any LGBTQ representation. Out of the thousands of video games which debuted in those 60 years, only 179 games had any representation of our community. And out of those, only 83 had any queer characters you can actually choose as a playable character inside of the game. But we've compiled a list of some of the best LGBTQ characters in video game history. So let's start off with Lena Tracer Oxton, who is the poster child of the Overwatch franchise. She is also the first in the franchise to be of the LGBTQ community. The 26-year-old is the youngest ever inducted by Overwatch's experimental flight because of her fantastic piloting skills. Due to an accident gone wrong, she was presumed dead, but then returned months later with chronal disassociation. This condition made her a living ghost. She would blink out of existence for hours, even days at a time. This was until a scientist named Winston crafted a chronal accelerator to keep her grounded in the present day. This device also gave her the ability to control the time and space specifically around her. These abilities helped her become one of Overwatch's most reliable agents. In the comic released by Blizzard, called Reflections, in one panel it shows Tracer having a girlfriend and being given a kiss for getting a scarf for Christmas. The announcement of Tracer being a lesbian goes with the past statements by Blizzard that there are LGBTQ representations in the Overwatch franchise. As Blizzard said, quote, "As in real life, having variety in our characters and their identities and backgrounds helps create a richer and deeper overall fictional universe. From the beginning, we've wanted the universe of Overwatch to feel welcoming and inclusive, and to reflect the diversity of our players around the world." In Fire Emblem Three Houses, Edelgard von Hraesvelgar can forge a bond, which the game itself uses this term of bond instead of romance, with either the male or female avatar of the game, Byleth. In this franchise, bonding choices are more guided by player choice. With this said, not many characters are able to be flirted with or bonded by both male and females. Edelgard is the Imperial Princess and heir to the throne of the Adrestian Empire. She is also the house leader of the Black Eagles of Gareg Mac Monastery. In the game, you can choose her path from a total of 3 to unite the continent. Her way of uniting the continent is not the simplest or the kindest. Edelgard's strong sense of her perceived duty and confidence in her ability to get the job done is why she is popular within the Fire Emblem franchise. The game shows that her hard and cold exterior is just a front. As the game progresses, she opens up, and by the end of the game, you can marry her. At the very beginning of your first conversation with Edelgard, you can get her to blush. This only happens if you choose a specific option.
What are you doing here? What could that possibly mean? In any case, please don't scare me like that. So you heard me then.
This blush will happen if you are playing either female or male Byleth. It also shows that she is a normal young person who gets embarrassed around her crush, no matter her sexual orientation. As your player gets to know her, she will even attempt some humorous lines, and to some players, this adds some likability to her character. Next up, Birdo from the Super Mario franchise is credited as the world's first openly transgender video game character. In her first appearance in Super Mario Bros. 2, She is a mini-boss where she fires eggs at her enemies. She is considered a villain in the game, but in later installments of the Super Mario franchise, they become allies and playable characters. The gender identity of this character is highly debated, because Nintendo has been inconsistent throughout the years. An example of this inconsistency is from the original printing of the Super Mario Bros. 2 manual. The original manual stated, quote, "Birdo thinks he is a girl and likes to be called Birdetta. He likes to wear a bow on his head and shoot eggs from his mouth." In later reprints of this game, the description was later omitted. In a Japanese exclusive Wii game called Captain Rainbow, which is a great name for a game by the way, the player has to rescue Birdo from prison. In the game, Birdo was in prison for, quote, "using the wrong bathroom," since the robot jailer does not believe she is a woman. In the real world, transgender people around the world face similar struggles of intolerance, even though, as we've covered in our recent episode, The Science of Being Transgender, there is mountains of evidence to prove their gender is valid. Still, the character Birdo is very popular and relatable to many trans, non-binary, and gender-fluid people, because of Nintendo and Captain Rainbow showing the struggles Birdo goes through. Birdo is also the significant other of Yoshi, and who doesn't love that adorable green dinosaur? Next on our list is Alexios and Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey. These two characters are the main protagonists of the game, based in ancient Greece. Alexios is the male protagonist and Cassandra is the female protagonist. Both are also siblings, which at first glance, making them siblings seems restrictive, but the game developer, Ubisoft, kept traditions of ancient Greek sexuality. This means no matter if the player chooses Alexios or Cassandra, they can form romantic relationships with whomever they choose, and they can choose to have relationships with 14 different characters in total. But forming romantic relationships is also optional to the game experience, so there is no pressure to do so in order to progress throughout the game. This adds a level of aromantic spectrum to the game, which is a really amazing thing the game developers did here, because aromantic and asexual people don't get near enough representation. To ensure consistency throughout the Assassin's Creed Odyssey, characters don't use gendered terms. They instead call the player Mystios, which is the Greek word for mercenary. Mercenary, you, or sometimes referring to your character by name. Both Alexios and Cassandra go through an entire journey to find themselves, not only emotionally but physically, to reach their goals. Next up is Flea from the game Chrono Trigger, which was originally released in 1995. Flea rocks pink hair, wears a skirt, and is a powerful magician. But what brings Flea to our list today is because they are a transgender character in the game. If you play Chrono Trigger, you'll hear this famous line of dialogue from Flea stating, quote, "Male or female, what difference does it make? Power is beautiful and I've got the power." As with many early transgender video game characters, they are a villain of the franchise. But Flea also has a, quote, "diva form." In this form, they give either a hearty laugh or blows a kiss to those who challenge them. Even though Flea was considered a villain in the game, it was uncommon to find many transgender characters in video games at all during the 1990s. As we mentioned a moment ago, recent transgender characters like Birdo become allies in the franchise over time. But for Chrono Trigger, Flea was a one-time boss. Next up is Bloodhound from Apex Legends, who is a non-binary individual. Bloodhound's main job in the game is to be a recon tracker. In theory, this may not seem like an important job, but Apex Legends is a team game, which is player versus player, or PvP for short. So the main point is to track the enemy, and therefore Bloodhound becomes a very important character in the game. Their backstory was highlighted in the video Apex Legends Stories from the Outlands, The Old Ways. In the video, Bloodhound was taught how to hunt and track from their elders. They were to pass a trial as a rite of passage. Fail the test and you were shunned. While Bloodhound may not have passed the trial in the normal way in which it was supposed to be passed, but they gained respect from the clan nonetheless. After watching the video, some fans assumed that since Bloodhound sounds like a girl, that they must be a girl. On the contrary, as Manny Hagopian, a senior writer at Respawn, stated, quote, "Since day one, Bloodhound has been referred to by the pronouns they, them, and their. This is who they are. This is how they identify. It's okay to struggle with that concept as we grow and evolve. Bloodhound is another identifiable character for non-binary individuals, and also shows to others that just because people sound feminine or masculine doesn't mean they are. Next up is Ellie from the Last of Us series, who went from being the sidekick in the first game to the main character in The Last of Us 2. She is the first gay protagonist in a game in which her sexuality isn't swayed by player choices. Ellie is the first gay star of any blockbuster game. The even better part is that this game is not all about Ellie's love life, which can show players how normal her love life is, that it's simply a background element. The game is about a post-apocalyptic world full of zombies, and Ellie's dark quest to get revenge on the person who killed her father figure. As you play the game, Ellie experiences homophobic individuals, and she also deals with the consequences of your actions and choices to get to the end goal. The game has many light and fluffy scenes that help break the tension of how dark the game actually gets. Speaking of light and fluffy, props to the game developer, Naughty Dog, to a well-made cinematic cutscene. Who would want to skip past that?
Okay, I have a very serious question for you. How bad do I smell?
Like a hot pile of garbage?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
How about that?
gross.
You love it. Oh, Ellie. I think they should be terrified of you.
Hey! This is a family event.
Sorry.
Next is Krem of Dragon Age Inquisition, who is the second in command of a mercenary company. Krem is a transgender male. Between conversations with the commander, named Iron Bull, Krem's backstory is revealed, and the player can pick up quickly that even though they are constantly giving each other grief, it never is about anything that highly offends the other. The Kunari people are very open and accepting of transgender people. This is one reason why Krem has been accepted into this mercenary company. Another is because they are efficient at their job. BioWare's writer, Patrick Weekus, took the time to pass his script to friends of his in the LGBTQ community to get their feedback. He stated that during the writing process, quote, "On the writing side, I wrote Krem as best I could, and the editing team looked at every line and cleaned up dialogue and paraphrases that could give the wrong impression. I then passed him to two friends in the GQ, or genderqueer community, at which point they showed me where I was absolutely messing things up and gave me constructive feedback on how to improve. This shows the writing team as a whole wanted to be inclusive and took initiative to do so." Anyway, that's all for our episode today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like our content and want to support more LGBTQ education in the future, please consider checking out our merchandise store or becoming a member. Don't forget to like this video, comment down below your LGBTQ friendly thoughts, hit that rainbow subscribe button so you don't miss out on new episodes of the show, and share this video with others. As always, I'm your host, Matt Haslam. This has been PBR. Have a gay day, everyone, and bye for now. Still not enough rainbows? Click here to see more weekly episodes of Powered by Rainbows, Semester 4, only on MHP TV.